Hotspurs, welcome back. Talking Tottenham every week, no better place to be sat. If it's a win, lose, draw, we'll be here for a chat. Best believe we tackle topics like Romero in the back. Young Min Son, what can go wrong when he's on form? It's a dream come true, so sit back, relax and vibe with us. Special guests every time here to discuss. Bring your passion, come along for the ride, and don't forget to subscribe, cause...
Hello and welcome to another episode of Hollie's Hotspurs Live, where tonight, ladies and gents, we have got a fun 4-1 win to dissect against Villa. And I must say, it's a very much of a different contrast compared to last week's show. So I'm very excited to get this one started. And with me to do so, I'm joined by three fabulous guests. First of all, I'm joined by Bob. Bob, it's amazing to have you back on the show. How are you, my friend? Oh,
sorry, all good.
Right.
Sorry, I actually muted myself there. I forgot I had. Yeah, all good. Good to be back on. Last time I was on, we just lost away to Newcastle last season. So much better result to dissect this time. So yeah, buzzing to get into it all with Hollie, yourself, Billy and David.
Perfect stuff. No, it is a better contrast to last time I had you on, Bob. So glad to have you on for this one. Also joined by David. David, it's amazing to have you on. I know it's early over there, so I really appreciate it. How are you?
I'm all good. Thank you very much. Always lovely to have a chat about a good smacking of Matty Cash's Aston Villa. And I just like to say, Bob, you've got a very excellent collection of spirits and drinks behind you. I fancy a drink already.
Being a Spurs fan, you just have to have a break glass in case of emergency at all times.
No, lovely stuff. Like I say, David, it's amazing to have you on. And as well, Billie T. Billy, it's awesome to have you on too. How are you?
Yeah, good. It's better than last week, the last time that we spoke when I was on after Palace. But yeah, finally on after a win. Really good, man.
No, it's going to be good. Lots to dissect, lots of good things, which is even better as well. But like we all know, this show is obviously sponsored by the Tabletop, so make sure you go check them out in the description. And without further ado, we're going to crack on with things. We've got Chris in the chat already who's saying good evening. I think that's well timed, Chris. So welcome for joining, and to everybody else that's tuning in too. But Bob, I'm going to come to you first, because obviously definitely, like I keep saying, a different kind of outing than what it was against Palace last week. What did you make of the game against Villa?
Yeah, I thought it was good. First half was pretty classic first half performance from us this season. I didn't think we were ever in danger of conceding, which we did, I know. But yet I didn't think we were kind of endangering them either. It was pretty contained from both sides. And then, yeah, second half was almost rinse repeat from the West Ham game a couple of weeks ago. So it was very enjoyable. It's the type of performance that gets you excited again and thinking we're going to win the league, which, I mean, so yeah, great. I thought it was just kind of standout performance after standout performance for me. We'll look at, say, who started. I thought Sarr was the best player in the pitch for the game, start to finish. The legs he gives us is something else, massive engine on him. Then Solanke again up front, not just his goals, but the engine he provides. He lets us play with that high line defensively because he can push so high and run all day. And then, yeah, I think Ange got it right, didn't he? I think we were all probably a bit worried with some of the subs, but all of the subs, not necessarily that they improved us, but they certainly didn't weaken us as we've seen in the past. I thought, not getting any credit, nobody really shouting them out, is the Spurs Dennis Irwin in Ben Davies. I thought he was quality. That's my Irish going out to me there. So yeah, I thought the whole team start to finish was fantastic. And I said Ange got it right off the bench too.
Definitely. And I think that's the thing. Oh, go on, sorry.
Nice to send Villa home, isn't it? I feel them along with everyone else has manufactured a weird rivalry with us. And after their tweets of 3-point lane last year, it's good to send them home with nothing.
It was definitely karma, I think, like say, after calling it 3-point lane. But David, anything else? Obviously, like Bob's kind of mentioned, it was kind of like the same old Spurs for the first half, and then we definitely stepped it up a gear in that second half, David, didn't we?
Yeah, look, I thought first half we weren't getting the ball out wide to Johnson and Sonny quick enough. I think Emery played it in a way that, with our inverted fullbacks, kind of really making it narrow and congesting the middle and not getting it out wide as we should have done. And I think that was the big difference in the second half. I thought the Sonny substitution and the reaction, maybe we'll talk about that a bit later. I thought that, he got all his substitutions right. obviously, if you'd have taken Sonny off and we'd have lost, we'd all be talking about it now till the cows come home. But he was proactive, which is some of the issues that I've had with him this season in terms of Brighton away, second half, Palace as well. But, Bob's mentioned a lot of players. I also want to bring out Dragusin as well and give him a special mention because I thought he had an excellent game. And I do like to see a proper old-fashioned centre-half. I know I'm an old git, but it's nice to see a centre-half who's just doing what he's meant to do and getting stuck in. I thought he had a great game.
Especially, obviously, losing Mickey Van der Ven in injury as well. To see him kind of step in and be like he's never kind of left sort of thing is really nice to see that from Dragusin. Good point there, David. And also from you, Billy, obviously, what was your kind of overall thoughts as well? I assume it was going to echo the same as the guys.
Yeah, definitely. Second half was excellent. I wasn't like too disheartened by the first half as much as like I think the commentary on Sky was saying as soon as the halftime whistle went, was saying, "Oh, that's a brilliant Villa performance." I don't think it was, to be honest. I thought they were largely dreadful all game, to be honest. I don't think they offered anything. They were time wasting from the big first half, playing a low block. They looked a bit like Arsenal-like kind of performance, and was not impressed with them at all. And they got the obviously the set piece goal, and again, that's obviously something which we can dive into a bit later, but. It's only our second set-piece goal conceded this season, so there was a narrative online that it's the same old story again. But I don't think that's necessarily true. I think we've got a lot better there this season. I think some of the players will be a bit disappointed with that goal, but still, I think some of them have definitely improved. But second half was absolutely brilliant. We blew them away, and I think when we do that kind of performance, there's not a team in the league that I worry about, because when we play like that, no one can handle us. Aston Villa, top of the Champions League at the moment. I think they've lost one league game all season, and they couldn't get anywhere near us. So when we play like that, I don't fear anyone.
I think that's kind of true in the narrative you said, Billy, because obviously not many people were talking about the stellar performance Spurs kind of did. It's kind of like, oh, Villa played well first half, same on, then Spurs turned it on. It's kind of that kind of narrative again that we always see in the media. But Bob, I'm going to come to you because obviously Billy's mentioned that a corner, and I thought we'd get the negative out of the way before we actually go to town on how well we played in that second half. What was your kind of take on it? Because obviously, like Billy's mentioned, we haven't conceded as many set pieces, but it's frustrating when you see something like that happen again. It's kind of like, not that it's happening all the time, but it's just something easy we can work on, sort of thing.
Yeah, I feel it was kind of more calamity than anything. Like it was a great ball in for number one by them, so you have to give them credit for that. But then it takes a flick off Paro at the front, and then there's a flick off Bentancur, and then it was all a bit of what's the word, like ping pong around there, and they put in the back of the net from there. I don't think it was systematically really badly. I think really bad. I think we were just. It was a cracking ball. We didn't deal with this. They got a bit of luck, and it kind of just fell for them. Like I tweeted yesterday, I think the offensive corners are probably a little bit are the ones we should be more worried about. I think it's just an easy narrative for Sky and the TV companies to talk about who don't actually watch the football, and it's just an easy Hotspurs where we can set pieces and they'll kind of run with that. Like TalkSport, they're all just going with it. When they actually break it down, as you said, as Billy mentioned there, we've only conceded twice from corners, one of which the 2 goals against 2 good set piece teams. Whatever we say about them and that other team, like they know how to score from set pieces. So I'm not too worried. I think what adds to the worry is more Vicario's body language. He doesn't fill you full of confidence and push people out of the way and get physical, and he does look to flap a little bit. If he was just that little bit, if his just demeanour and body language was a bit stronger, I don't think he'd be as worried, even if the outcome was the exact same. I feel, look, it was 1 every 5 games we concede. It's not the worst outcome.
No, agree. I think it was just the manner, because obviously you talk about Vicario there, Bob, and David, it's the same with me. I think before that corner even came in, I was saying, why is no one in between Vicario and Rodgers? And to me, it was blatant. But then obviously you hear things that Vicario doesn't want someone in between him. But then after the corners you see later on, that then does become the thing. What is it? Something that we need to be like, no, Vic, you need someone in between you and that player, or do you think Vic has to learn to demand his kind of area?
Look, I think he flaps a bit. I know. I mean, I appreciate it's 2 goals. We've only considered 2 goal set pieces. I get that. And obviously, it's not unknown for Sky to have a narrative against us since time began. However, he is a bit flappy. He doesn't inspire me with a lot of confidence on the physicality on this, and he needs to get better at this now, which is why I thought having Dragusin in the team would have a better outcome than that. But as Bob said, it was a bit. I think it came off Bentancur. It was a little bit of comedy of errors, and it went in, and it was a great delivery in. But it's still something that he needs to work on and get better at in dealing with. Since Pep targeted him in the FA Cup game, everyone else since then has tried to do that as well. Now, either we've got to get more streetwise with it. I noticed in the second half that there was a corner and then Kulu just flung himself to the ground and we got a free kick in our box. And that was a bit more street smart. But it's something that we still need to work on.
Definitely, and I think that's the thing. I think it was just the frustrating nature of it, Billy. It was like we kind of said, a calamity of errors where people aren't really demanding that kind of presence. I mean, I spoke last year about going away from this zonal marking and going man to man. Is that something you think Spurs still need to work on? Or again, like you said, because it's only been 2, we don't necessarily have to worry about it too much.
Possibly. I can't see Ange changing it though anytime soon because he's quite set in his ways, which I think most top managers are. And I think if he was going to make a big change like that, he would have done it in summer probably. So I think we'll probably stick with what we're doing for now. And then I think it's one of those things. I personally think you need to put a man in between the player and Vicario. I think there's this weird narrative around Vicario. I think he can definitely improve in his crossing and his ability to sort of kill a cross, catch it in the air without punching it like he did for the first cross that came in that led to the corner. But also, I think there's an unfairness around from referees as well. I think 9 out of 10 goalkeepers in the Premier League would get fouled for that yesterday. But there's now this perception going around that Vicario is weak, and he probably is a bit too weak to be fair. But he's not getting the kind of consistency of fouls that maybe other goalkeepers would get. So I think we're in a bit of a weird quandary with it, and it doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon. But I think you've got to put a man there because I don't think Vicario is not a strength of his at all. So you've got to take it out of his hands and put a man in there for sure.
I think it's definitely something we need to kind of do because I think it was just evident from that corner. And then I think as the game progressed, we kind of realised that and started to put a man in between Vic and the opposing player. But again, it didn't really matter though, Bob, because obviously we managed to find that equaliser from a bit of amazing cross from Sonny and obviously Johnson lurking back cross. What have you kind of made of obviously Sonny's kind of appearances of late, obviously when he was rested and then he's come back from injury?
Yeah, look, I think it's fair to say Son isn't the player he probably was, in that Conte season when he got Golden Boot and whatnot, but he's still, class doesn't need it, really, does it? And yeah, he probably doesn't have that pace as he did, and he probably doesn't cut in and ping them in top bins as much as he was, but it shows the quality he has, and he can just flick it on, he can turn it on when he needs to, and he can put a ball in like that. Like, it was literally your textbook undefendable ball, wasn't it? It was in that passage between the keeper and the defense. Nobody knew whether to stick or twist. And Johnson, to be fair to him, I know he's had his critics over the last year or so, but one thing he is good at is, I'm a fan of Johnson, by the way, I'm not downplaying him, is hitting that back post at the right time. So I think for both of them, it was absolutely perfect. And then, I think, look, we all know Spurs can beat anyone. Spurs, we can go out and beat anyone on our day, but unfortunately, we can go out and lose to everyone. I think our standard deviation is just too big at the moment. So, the difference between our best performance and our lowest is just too big, and it's tough to really build a season and a league on that. I think the Ipswich game this weekend, I know we're probably going to touch on it later, it's just so important because if we need to be able to back these big performances up by winning the games we should be winning. And I've gone way off topic there, what you said to me. So back to Young Son. He's not the player he was. I think we all love him just as much, if not more. And we win him on. I win him on more than anyone on the pitch to cut in a ping when the top corner. But he still has that quality in him that he can pull something out of nothing. And to be fair, if you want somebody running through one-on-one for you, if your life depends on it, you're putting your money on him unless he's playing Man City and that lot are going for the league as well.
No, I'm with you. You managed to pull it back, Bob, from my original question, so I appreciate it. But no, I think you're right. Like you said, I think Sonny isn't like he used to be. But David, I think that might be why he was a little bit stunned, obviously, when he kind of got called to come off. But I know we'll get into it and the fact that obviously Ange has made the right decision here. But I think he does need to be rested at times, and Ange got it spot on.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, and it's verboten for me to say this, and I dared to say this a couple of years ago that maybe Sonny has peaked, and maybe he's a player that as he gets to the end of his career, he may not have other skills or attributes in his game that he could play like in a deeper position, like your Rooney did, or even your Scholes, right? So I do think, yeah, he plays way too much. I mean, he had the Asia Cup and the table tennis table incident in February of this year. So he plays way too much. But the issue that we've had is that we've never really had someone decent enough to kind of rotate with him and develop to getting someone in and transitioning to someone else. So I just think that it was a great cross in, and it showed that when with Ange ball, sometimes where my frustration sometimes is getting in a decent cross from those wide positions and getting to the touchline and putting one in. That's where I think Solanke, who looks he looks a strong player in the air. I don't think we're delivering anything on his head at the moment, and that's something we need to do. But Sonny, listen, the reaction to being sent off, the reaction to being substituted, I understand that naturally he was annoyed about it. You don't want a player like singing and dancing and being substituted in the 55th minute. But I felt that him going on about it in front, and he sat next to Graham Bergvall. He is the club captain. He is meant to show a bit of a role model and the group and not make it about himself and chewing on the boys. I mean, we see him running on the pitch in his Burberry at other times when he's not playing. So, I think once he got on the bench, I think he should have stopped sulking.
No, I think you're right. And I think the thing is as well, I don't know, he must know, Billy, that he needs to be rested sometimes. I don't know whether, obviously, when I was watching it, I was thinking, are you okay, Ange? Are you feeling all right to kind of bring him off at that kind of stage of the game? But again, it worked. What would you kind of say, obviously, on the Sonny substitution?
So I'm guessing that they agreed before the game that he's going to play 55, 60 minutes, which Ange actually said afterwards. And then what I think happened was Sonny got us back into the game pretty much instantly in the second half. And then he probably thought, well, now that we're at 1-1, he's not going to take me off now because, I could go and win it. It was a massive call from Ange, to be fair, to take your captain off just after he produced one of the best balls he's ever produced in his life. And it's against the crowd as well. The crowd kind of turned a little bit on that one as well. And then and it was a big call, but it paid off, and you can't complain to the manager about it when it paid off. I think they must have pre-agreed that he's only going to play for 60 minutes max. 55 minutes was a little bit strange, but I think Ange thought now that it's 1-1, we need to keep the momentum going, and it worked completely. The only thing I can think of is it got to one. Someone thought he's not taking me off now because I can go and win this for us, but I think they must have pre-agreed it, right? They must have done.
No, definitely. I think you're right. I think they must have done so because, like you said, it wasn't like he was stunned. It was more of like, you're taking me off now, even though I've just kind of got us back into the game. I don't think it would have been a conversation that would have been out of nowhere, if that kind of makes sense.
I'm glad because I think the problem is we've done it so many times over the year. We've done it a couple of times this season. We even did it to Son a few weeks ago. We have to manage our players better. Odegaard, we probably rushed back. He's now set back for another time. Son came back a little bit, rushed him back a little bit. Had another setback, was out for a couple more games. Richarlison looks like again he's injured again. We have to look after these players better. So I think. And he's 32 years old. He's 32 years old. He doesn't seem it because he's so baby-faced, and he's just kind of one of those characters that doesn't age, and he's been around the club forever, and I hope he stays forever. But we have to manage this guy properly. Otherwise, he's got a good few years left in him if we manage him correctly. And if we don't, one bad injury at this stage in your career and it's done.
Well, I mean, at least he didn't do a Serge Aurier and storm off down the high street. Yeah. So, that's all right.
Or Hossam Ghali.
Yeah, that's right.
No, I think you're right, Billy. I think, like we mentioned, I think it was last week as well, we were saying we need to try and manage him to the extent that we can get the most out of him and the best out of him. Because we saw when he was rested for a couple of weeks, when he was injured, when he came back, he instantly looks like the old Sonny. So I think he must know himself. It's just frustrating as a player. You want to play as many minutes as possible, especially when you get your team kind of back into it. But Bob, we're going to talk about, obviously, the guy that came on. I know that we've missed a goal, but we'll go back to that one. And I want to talk about, obviously, Richie and the fact that he obviously got put on in place of Sonny. So what did you kind of obviously make of that substitution? Obviously, we've spoken about how it might not have been the best one, but it worked out. What did you make of his kind of contribution to the game?
Yeah, I always see Richie as the kind of sub-centre forward as opposed to left-sider. Like, I'd always think Werner or else Mikey Moore would have been put on. I appreciate you can't really put Mike and Moore on in a game like that when it's so evenly poised. Wouldn't be, I don't think, the right thing to do. And Werner's been too hot and cold recently. Sorry, cold recently, should I say? But so yeah, I get it when you kind of break it down like that, but at the time I didn't really kind of know why he was coming on. Availability being the best ability is kind of Richie's biggest problem. Like, you can't play your way into form if you're not able to play, and he is a type of player who needs to play his way into form. I think with Richie, it's probably just he's had his time, and maybe next summer we move him on, because you can't be dependent on someone who can't get themselves fit or stay fit when they do get fit. But he looked lively when he came on, didn't he? For that, how long was he on? 10, 15 minutes? Like, I actually don't know how long he was on for. And I think he did well for the Solanke second goal, which was our third, which is the one I actually celebrated, because I couldn't celebrate the second one because I thought it could have been off. And he did well. Like, the momentum was taking him out, and he somehow managed to kind of square it back, and a perfectly weighted ball across the bit. So I think he did well there, but there's not much else to really say about him, I don't think, for his performance yesterday. But look, he is ever frustrating, isn't he? Like, he'll score a few, he'll get injured, he'll come back, he'll get injured, he'll come back. You know, he might score when they get injured again, and you just can't depend on that, I don't think. And I think he's probably just had his time at Spurs, if I'm being honest.
No, I think you're right. I think that's the thing, because David, he obviously came on, did an amazing assist, and then got injured in the process of doing it. And it was like, oh, amazing, he's contributed, and then, oh, brilliant, we've lost him again.
Yeah, I thought that initially when I saw it, I thought he kind of had some emotional tears of happiness that he's created a goal, and he was back, and he was like making it all about himself and not Solanke. And I thought, that's a bit narcissistic. But then I realised he's done his hammy. I mean, the only thing that he hasn't done is emulate Coco Lamela, who used to get injured in the warm-up and didn't even make it onto the bench. So he used to. I think Coco Lamela even got injured in the warm-up before the first game of the season. You think, you've had all summer to get fit, mate, and you're now injured in the warm-up. So Richarlison, look, I was genuinely really happy we bought him. I thought, right, we spent some proper money on one of another Premier League team players that they love, but his injury record at Everton and Watford was never the best. And then I was a bit surprised by the lack of the fact that he's not actually a very good football player. If you stick it in the middle, he doesn't have any time to think about it, and that was his best spell last year. But the final thing about it is that left up top position it's like the Hello magazine of top. Like, you know, in the Hello magazine, you got married and you got divorced 10 minutes later. Mana, Solomon, Perisic, Odegaard, Timo, that's 5 have played in that position, and they've all got injured. So I reckon we start 10 men, don't have anyone left up top from now on.
I was going to say, it does, when you put it like that, it's definitely cursed. Side. Yeah, I didn't really think of it like that. Wowee. Yeah, maybe you're right. But I'm going to talk about as well the goal scorer, Billy. I know, obviously, I missed his first attempt, his first goal, sorry, but I want to move on to that second one, because obviously to see him first score one, then to score another, and you're thinking, wowee, Solanke has arrived, ladies and gents.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's been, I mean, I don't think Tottenham fans have needed it, but I think Solanke's needed it to sort of shut up a few other doubters. I think anyone who watches Tottenham every single game will know that his all-round game is excellent. His work rate is incredible, one of the best I've seen, and he contributes a lot to the team. But at the end of the day, if you're a £60 million striker and you've got 2 league goals after 10 games, you're going to start getting questions from people online, commentary, and the narrative is going to start to build. So I'm really glad that he got those 2 goals. It doesn't really change my perception of him. I think he's been excellent all season. I think he's a great signing. I'm just pleased with him because anyone deserves a goal. It's him. He's been absolutely running his socks off the last few games for us, and I think that was his. I think that was his first shot on target in 6 games. But that doesn't really tell the full story of him because he does so much else for the team.
No, he really does, and I think that's the thing. It's quite funny because Jay's brother's been winding me up about the fact that Solanke hasn't scored, and I'm like, H, have you watched this man play? Because Bob, this is the thing. It's not just his goals he contributes. It's the hold-up play. It's the pressing he kind of gives. It's just nice that he's finally obviously got that goal on the goal sheet. Yeah,
and like for the cliche of he's good feet for a big man, he does. Like we saw him against West Ham, take by a few players, late balls off. He's good in the air. He's physical. He's good defensively from corners as well, which I know we were touching upon earlier. He gives the option there to maybe take a man to clear a ball. He'll run all day. We saw after the City game, he was literally on the ground after that game. He's pretty selfless. Just touching on what Billy said, and I'm going to repeat myself, we were literally talking about how, narratives that it can build so easily for people who don't actually watch a team week in, week out. And we can all be guilty of it. I can be guilty about it, about United, about Liverpool, about City, whatnot. But for people who don't watch Spurs week in, week out, they just see stats, or they see goals, or they see, as we said, set pieces earlier, and now it's on Solanke. Oh, he hasn't scored. But if you actually watched him, oh yeah, watch him in a Spurs. Oh, when did you watch? And when you dig in, they haven't actually watched him or watched Spurs. And I think that's, again, so easy for your Skies, your Talk Sports, and so on for repeating myself, I know, and I apologize for that, but it's the easy narrative, it's the easy thing to fall back on. I thought he was unbelievable, and think now we have a good number 9 who has taken the toughest job in football since replacing Ferguson at United, is replacing Harry Kane at Spurs, and he looks to be like, I love him, like I do. I think it's great that we have a player that can do pretty much everything. Fair enough, he's not scoring the same numbers, that's fair enough, but he can put the ball in the net, he can hold it up, he can head it, he's physical, he can run. I think there's nobody, in theory, in hindsight, he was the perfect signing. I don't know how it took us a year to get it. When you actually look at everything he can do, and it was such an obvious signing to make, and now that we have him, it shows.
No, definitely. And I think as well, obviously, that finish, David, for the first goal, the little dink, I was kind of like Bob, because I was a bit worried that it was offside to start with. It was such a through ball through Decky, we'll get onto in a minute, but the finish from Solanke was just sublime. Yeah,
but we got to give a shout out to the Welsh Dennis Irwin, because he made the crunching tackle in the first place. Of course, Ben Davies, he made the crunching tackle, and then off we went. The Kulu reverse pass was a thing of beauty. Solanke put it away, and to Bob's point, some Spurs fans had knee-jerk reactions to the Palace debacle last week. Some Spurs fans dropped Solanke and Johnson from their fantasy league team this week, i.e., I did that. So I watched it all, and I was very happy. And then I looked at my points for the week, and I was a bit annoyed. But there you go. Yeah, no, look, I like Solanke. I mean, I think that. I know what you're saying, Bob, about maybe we should have got him before last year. But don't forget, last season was the first season he did a decent goal return in the Premier League, right? And it's what for me is, and I'm enjoying about him being in the team, he's a proper striker. I mean, we sold Kane. I understand why. He had a year left. We had to get the money for him. But to get Valise in, who it's clear that Ange doesn't believe in, which was just an odd signing to do for the squad. And then Solanke's in now. I like the way that he links up. I wish we'd have got him in earlier in the summer window, so he had more time to bed in with the team and the training ground. And as I said, I'd like to see us get more crosses into him, because obviously he's strong in the air, and we really need to take advantage of that. So I was very pleased that he got that goal, and it was, as I said, that lovely reverse pass from Decky, who has surprised me this season. I think he was fading a bit in his new position this season. I think he's been one of our best players.
I feel like every week, Billy, I talk about how amazing Decky is, but again, it was just great. It's obviously, like David said, alluded to, now playing him in his proper position in that central kind of midfield, it just blows the world away. Yeah,
he's just simply one of the best players in the league and playing like it every single week at the moment. Like, it's just unbelievable consistency. 2 assists against Man City, another brilliant one, another great performance as well. He's really taken this, the opportunity by the scruff of the neck and carrying the team at the moment. And when you look to him and listen to him in interviews after the games and things, his mentality is unbelievable. And he's kind of almost taken that main character thing of the team at the moment and thinking, there was that one after Man City where he says he wants the ball all the time, wants to be like Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. I think he cited as being an inspiration to him. And the way that he's played at the moment, I struggle to think of many players in the league that are having a better season than him.
But wasn't Pep making eyes at him during the week?
Yeah, he made the first time as well.
Yeah, he was flirting with him. We don't like.
He did the same. He did exactly the same last season as well. It's a bit of a worry to me because it's almost like your ready-made KDB replacement, isn't it?
Yeah, if he goes golfing with Gary Neville in the summer, we need to be worried.
Yeah, on a serious note, though, we should seriously tie him down big time. Like he deserves a massive pay raise. He deserves to be our best paid player. We need to treat him like the superstar that he is, I think.
Reach it.
He's like I think he's like, I know this again is a comparison we always hear and make as Spurs fans, but he's like a further forward Moussa Dembele.
Yeah.
The way he just glides past players, he can roll his man. Like, the role of the man is coming before it even happens. And the defender probably knows it's coming as well, but just can't do it. He's physical, he can get his elbows up. even though he's quite one-footed, he can still get it on that foot and get it away. He's like, I kind of like how he's not getting the credit externally really yet. Like, you talk who's the best 10 in the league, everyone's going to say Cole Palmer at the moment. And fair play to him, he's playing unbelievable stuff, granted. And he probably is. But I kind of like that he's going about it quickly and he's not getting the attention because, as Billy said there, I'd be pretty scared of a team in Sky Blue getting them. Or I think he's ready-made for a team in Wear Red in Merseyside. Like, I just think he's unbelievable. He's so good to watch. Like, every friend I'm talking to about football, I'm like, just watching. And they're like, I'm not sure and I'm just watching. He's absolutely incredible. Even like, do you know when you hear him getting interviewed and he's cold? Like, he's like ruthless in how he gets interviewed. Always talking about my mentality needs to be the best. And he barely cracks a smile. And I'm like, mate, you are a psycho. Like, and I love it. Like, he's just that cold killer. And I'm all for it.
He said the same thing that he said against the West Ham game, where he said, at half-time, we knew that if we scored 1 goal, we'd be able to get 4. And that's the mentality that he has. Like, his mentality, he said that twice now, and both times it's proved true. And then he's just got that, he's got an elite mentality. And I think, as Tottenham fans, we have to, admit that unless we match that ambition with the ambition that he's probably got as a footballer, we could be saying goodbye.
Let's not get. Come on, we've won.
No, we got. He'll win us the league first. Don't worry.
That's a bit dark. Come on,
he'll win us the league first.
Let's celebrate that. Listen, I'll be honest with you. I got a bit frustrated with him in the North London derby because basically they just moved us around the pitch, the Gooners, and we were in possession. We kept passing it side to side, and I got frustrated with that. But the other thing is that he's given, in a way, good competition and kick up the arse of Maddison as well. We would have walked into the club thinking he's an automatic starter, and he's not, which kind of is a possible nice segue to the 4th goal. But I'm not the host. You're the.
I was going to say, David, do you want to say my role? Because you did that well, good.
Thank you.
It does lead us on, obviously, to Maddison. And Billy, I'll come to you this one because I know that you need to shoot in a minute. Obviously, with Madders, we didn't see him start. And like David said, he was kind of like benched theoretically. And then obviously he comes on and he scores a free kick, which I didn't think Spurs could actually score. So what did you make of obviously Maddison's contribution to the game?
Yeah, I thought he would probably have came on a little bit earlier, to be honest. I think when it was 1-1, we were looking a little bit devoid of ideas until we had that little spell where we blew them away. I thought maybe he'd introduce him at 1-1. Yeah, and a free kick finally. I think someone was saying, I've seen a couple of different answers on Twitter to this. I think some people say you have to go back to Ericsson versus Norwich. I think there's a Lucas Moura one, Sheffield United. Either way, it's been a very, very long time. It feels a long time for me since we've even had a free kick in a position where we might look like scoring. There was the Harry Kane Brentford one. That's not really classed as a free kick because it was laid off to him. So it's just been ages. And when we signed Maddison, everyone was talking about, how he's going to improve our free kicks. And we just never seem to get him on the way into the box ever. So yeah, amazing. Really, really good free kick. An interesting dilemma because we've seen some brilliant performances from Kulusevski and Maddison playing together, and then that seems to have fallen out of fashion a little bit now. And now another player we haven't even mentioned yet as much as Pape Sarr, I thought was man of the match actually. He seems to now be he's staked that place for his own. But I just think against Ipswich at the weekend, maybe when they're not as good defensively, I think you have to start Maddison and Kulusevski and blow them away.
No, like you say, that dynamic was the one in favour, and it's just kind of fallen off a little bit. I don't know whether because obviously Sarr's just been that workhorse in the middle. We need him in there when we've got the likes of Decky as well next to him. But Billy, it's been amazing to have you on. I know you need to shoot to go to Harry's show, so please enjoy it. Once again, thank you for joining us. Just let everyone know where you can find you.
See you soon.
See you later. But Bob, yes, I was going to say, obviously we've spoken a little bit about that midfield dynamic and the fact that obviously we had Bentancur and Sarr in there, which I think works really well. And obviously, but then when you've got Madders on the bench, you need that kind of creativeness. But what did you kind of make, obviously, of the starting lineup and then bringing Maddison into the forefold?
Yeah, like I'm happy with whatever three we put out really, and I think as Spurs fans we're so like obsessed about getting our best players into the 11. Like when Dragic signed, it was like, oh, we go 3 at the back. No, he's cover, he's squad, and like it's a squad game. We have to have different options for different challenges. And yes, a tough home game, yeah, put Sarr and give you a bit more legs. You know, a tough away game, Sarr, put him in there, get control of the midfield and get legs, get that box-to-box engine in there. against Ipswich on the weekend, we got 2 8s or 2 10s or whatever the spreadsheet football it says now, and we go more attacking because we're probably going to have the space to do so. Like, there has to be different options. And I think as Spurs fans since the Pochettino era, let's say 16, 17, you could pick the team every single week. And the biggest problem was where do we strengthen every summer? And we end up kind of half strengthening and not really strengthening and bringing the odd player in. But like, it's a squad game. We need 17, 18 players in there that we can slot in depending on the challenge that we have that week. And we need to start embracing it as fans rather than just kind of, oh, what's our, I want Maddison. Oh, we go, like, yeah, play Maddison, playing with a game that's suitable to playing. If we have to put Kulusevski on out right side for a game that suits him, put him out right side of the game that suits him. Like, let's just not be afraid of that. Like, let's get used to it. That's, you know, as a fan base, that it's not about the 11, it's about the squad, and we put out the best team that day to win the match.
I think it's because it's so alien to us, isn't it, David? The fact that obviously we're so used to, like Bob said, having a team of 11 and that be it. But it's nice to have those kind of options, and nice, like we've alluded to, like 2 rests on it if we need to.
Yeah, I think the midfield we're pretty much covered now and got rotation, right? I don't actually want to see Kulu out wide again because I just think he slows the whole thing down when he steps inside, right? So I thought Sarr had a great game. I think the one area he might need to develop a bit more is his final ball. But for one of the goals, it was his pass that kind of set it up. I think it was the one to Richie who put the cross in. So I thought Sarr was excellent. I think he's back to more of his form of the early to mid last season, because I think he tailed off last season, to be honest. But the fact that, again, for someone like him, he knows he's not going to start every week and everyone's got to play well to get into the team is a good thing and healthy. We have got gaps at left back and a left-footed centre-back. But, you know, that's where we are at the moment on that, and probably a second goalkeeper as well. But I like him. I actually prefer seeing it. I think Bentancur's a little bit better in a more advanced position. But again, he had a great game yesterday, I thought. But there are times where I think it's a Basuma and it's not a Bentancur. So it's in that middle of that midfield. And you've also got Graham Bergvall as well. I think we're well stocked there, and that's a good thing.
Definitely.
And just to confirm,
go on, sorry, Bob.
I don't want to see Kulusevski back in the right either. Purely example purposes.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But no, like I say, it's a nice headache to kind of have in that midfield. Obviously, another headache that we need to talk about, Bob, is the fact that Romero decided to injure himself before international break, which was a bit coincidental, so to speak.
It may not be a bad thing if he's actually injured, though. Like, not go back to Argentina for 2 weeks, stay at Spurs, stay in Enfield or wherever the training centre is, and just work at Spurs. Look, he's prone to it, isn't he? He's thrown himself into a tackle. He's very much a throw yourself in, think after type player, and I'm all for that player, that old-fashioned centre back, David, that you probably like, given that you like the old-fashioned centre forward. But yeah,
or just anything old is what I like. Yeah.
So he has it in him. You throw yourself in that aggressively, and you're going to get hurt eventually, and that's what's happened. It will be interesting to see what happens this weekend, if he plays or not. I think if he doesn't play this weekend, he doesn't go in the international break. I don't think the club would let him go. So if he plays, he goes. So it's an interesting one to try to injure himself for. I don't think he did. I do think it was a coincidence. I don't think he deliberately did, pulled an injury or whatnot. I'd like to think he didn't. But yeah, he has it in him to throw himself in and think about his body after. Which is the reason I didn't make it as a footballer. I would not do that. That's the reason.
You've made a valid point, Bob. And obviously that does kind of lead us on to our next 2 games, because, David, we've got a tasty tie against Galatasaray on Thursday, and then we are obviously got Ipswich at the weekend. So that being said, obviously with the injuries we have with Mickey van der Ven, potentially Romero, how do you kind of see the rotation happening in the week?
Well, if only we had Davinson Sanchez still in the ranks, because obviously we're going into the Davinson Sanchez derby in Galatasaray. So you'll know that he will rise like a salmon to head a goal in from a corner, hopefully in his own net, which would be more like Davinson. So it's an interesting one, because I think Ange has managed the Europa really well so far in terms of his squad rotation. But The issue that we've got is the curse of the left wing position has struck, and Sonny can only do 55, 60 minutes. So he's going to have to think long and hard about that. I mean, I think Romero, to be honest with you, I haven't been that impressed with him this season. I think he's been at fault for a lot of the goals, and he has kind of given off a little bit of an attitude of all this is a bit below me, to be honest with you. I know some people don't want to hear that either, and I wanted to see Dragusin have a run in the team anyway. So I think that he will start. Well, he's got no choice. I think on Thursday night, he's got to start with Davis and Dragusin, unless he's going to put Gray there, which I think is a bit unfair for someone there. I think Gray might end up actually having to play fullback anyway, right? So he's got to work that one out. We haven't got a lot of choices to rotate. And then Ipswich is at home next week. And, surely we are not going to screw that up. Even though I said we'd beat Palace 4-1. And look what happened there. So, and it's at home, isn't it, Ipswich? So, yeah. I mean, we're good at home. The minute the coach goes out the gates on the high road, we're not very good. So I think he's got to rotate it. I don't know. I mean, he's running out of players to do it with. Maybe he puts Lancashire in, because I don't want to get Solanke injured, and now Richie's injured as well. So he's got to work that one out. It's difficult because we've got less players now.
Right, that's the thing. I think, like I said, Thursday's going to be a very interesting one, and especially it's going to be very hostile as well, Bob. So what do you kind of make it as well? Because obviously we've got to try and compete with obviously that hostile kind of nature of where we're going for that game, in terms of they're just going to be nuts with flares, etc., etc. And for the young players and the likes of Mikey Moore, I mean, he'll probably thrive on it if we do play him. So what do you kind of make of how we're going to line up?
I was actually about to try to scribble something down there as David was answering and didn't get my answer, and or my team sheet on top. I think we rotate heavily. Like, I actually, at the start of this camp, I said I wanted us to get to 15 points on the board as quickly as possible and then rest. But given that I think the league takes priority over this right now, insofar as we're on 9 out of 9, rotate. If we lose, we lose. Like, going away to Galatasaray isn't the end of the world. I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be a character damning defeat if we put young players in and they lose. Everyone knows it's a tough place to go. So I would rotate as heavily as possible. I would almost go second 11, Bergvall in there, Gray in there. You could put Bentancur, Basuma, because you have cover there, Werner off the left, Lancashire up front. I don't know, who do we have off the right that we could throw in there? More even off the right. I'm just literally picking names now. And just go fully, I think our second 11 that we can put out at the moment. You can put Forster in goal, and if we lose, we lose. If we can get a point, fantastic. But like a point on Thursday, a win at the weekend, and we go into the international break, and we'll be happy.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, go on, David.
No, I agree with that. I think if we get a point in Turkey and obviously smash Ipswich 9-1, then we're all happy.
I think we will be, and I think that's the thing. I think I was kind of thinking about, as much as obviously we want to win a trophy this season, you've got to kind of weigh up what's going on at the minute. I think obviously we get a point or potentially lose a gas, it's not going to derail our European hopes. But we also need to think that we've got all these players that are injured. We need to somehow rotate and try and keep our one step in the door in the league, and especially playing Ipswich as well, like we said, and it's at home, so I'm not as stressed. I say this now, but I'm crossing my fingers I haven't jinxed it. But it will be an interesting kind of week ahead. But hey ho, we managed to win at the weekend. Hopefully that winning streak will continue. Go on,
Ollie, just on that as well. Just like, as again, if we lose this again, if we lose around 9 out of 12 points, we're still going to be in the top 4 of the Europa League. But given the other fixtures in the Premier League this weekend, everyone around us is playing each other. Forest are playing Newcastle. Those 2 clubs in London are playing each other, the Blue and the Reds, and then you have United or somewhere. I don't know. Anyway, they're all kind of playing around each other. So if we can get a win, there's going to be points dropped around us. It's key. If we go to Galatasaray, go full strength, pick up an injury, and lose this weekend, we really won't be taking advantage of kind of the other fixtures this weekend.
Yeah,
no, definitely, and I think that's the thing, because we normally always buckle when we have a position where we can kind of get an advantage. So it would be nice to obviously try and keep that and obviously beat Ipswich and, like I said, try and get some more points on the board while others potentially around us kind of drop them. But it will be an interesting kind of week ahead, so to speak. It's quite nice. They're coming in thick and fast at the moment, which is nice for us fans, not so much for the players. But it's been a great night tonight to dissect, obviously, that amazing win against Villa and look ahead to the rest of the week. So we'll go around the table, do our goodbyes. So first of all, David, thank you so much again for joining me tonight. Where can everybody find you doing your thing?
Look, I just do bits and bobs everywhere. So from time to time, I'm on the Spurs Show podcast, little bits on the lads. It's Tottenham YouTube, and my Twitter's there. So we come and have a good chat about all things Tottenham and 1980s and 90s British music as well.
Lovely, lovely. No, thank you, David. Cheers for joining me tonight. And also, Bob, as well. Amazing stuff from you. Like I said, it's nice to have you on for a win this time. So where can everybody find you doing your thing as well?
I'll keep the run going. Mainly Twitter, like, and the odd podcast here and there, which I haven't really been on too many recently, just been busy enough. So, mainly Twitter. I tweet during matches. I'll tweet just throughout the day when I'm feeling like it, nothing too structured. Giving opinions, which I've been told I have to pare back at times. But about football, I have free reign. So, get me at Bob_Spurs on Twitter.
Amazing stuff. No, thank you, Bob. And also Billy as well. Thank you for joining as well, my friend. Obviously, he's over on Harry's channel at the moment, so make sure you go tune in and watch that one. Also, thank you to everybody that's tuning in now, watching this live. Big up to all of you. And obviously, you can rewatch this later when you can. Obviously, Wednesday will be Hotspur Huddle back with Wes and Nelson. It's been a little while. We need to look at where we're going with FPL. I can reassure you, my team is trash. So I'm still trying to work on that. And then obviously next week, Hollie Agombar Live is back again. Hopefully, we will dissect in a win against Ipswich. But until next time, I'm on you Spurs.